Would you like to develop a meditation practice? Have you found it hard to start one? This story about a monk, a Tibetan monk, might help you. In the tradition of Tibet, the Tibetan tradition, this man, Milarepa, was born into a family that had money, property, and it was taken away by another side of the family. Revenge was in order, and so he actually killed about 30 of the other side of the family. Feeling terribly guilty, feeling like he did something absolutely horrible, which he did, he looked for many ways to heal himself. He finally settled on the meditation path. He retired to a cave high up in the mountains, which was the way people practiced those days, and sat and sat and sat. His was a very hard path. One day he went out looking for some firewood, found it, came back, and saw that his cave was filled with demons, just filled with ugly, scary-looking demons. Not knowing what to do, but knowing he wanted to get rid of them, he took a swatter and slapped at them. He took a knife and tried to stab at them. He yelled, he screamed, he became rageful. And it didn't bother these ghostly beings at all. They just sat there. Discouraged, not knowing what to do, he sat, and it came to him that he ought to teach them. Maybe if he taught them something about the Dharma, maybe then they would know compassion for him and leave. So he sat down on a stool and he taught. He taught what the Buddha taught. Didn't make any difference. They couldn't care less. So what was he to do? What was he to do? You know, when you think about it and you think about trying to meditate, if you force yourself, used force against yourself as he used force against the demons, it doesn't work. Might work once, and that's it. If you try to convince yourself, you're reasonable, rational, doesn't hold. And you too, I too, would sit back and say, what am I to do? What's the next step? Well, he sat, and he sat. And he said finally to them, what do you have to teach me? All of them left except one. But this one was a particularly disgusting one. So it hadn't fully worked. There were fewer demons around, but it didn't fully work. Then at one point he realized that he had to surrender. And metaphorically, he put his head into the demon's mouth and said, eat me. The demon slowly dissolved and went away. He realized that the demons were him. He was his own problem. There were thoughts, ideas, stories in his head that he had to be able to face and ultimately let go of. So on this path, we eventually come to just where Milarepa came. We need to face the stories, the thoughts, the memories, the traumas that stand in the way of our being in the present moment, stand in the way of a meditative practice. We're so busy seeing the world through those stories that we can't take the next step. To be on this path is to find freedom from the mind. And to do that, we need to meditate. So that's hard for most of us. It can really take years to develop a practice. Given all of the resistance that we feel, that the self puts up to a meditative path, sometimes it's best to try to bypass the mind. One way to do that is to set a regular time. Know that at a certain time in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're going to go and sit. Whatever happens, you are going to go and sit. If you can do this, if you learn to surrender to that, you'll see how you can free yourself from your stories, your ideas, that which stands in the way of your freedom from your stories.